I still remember that Sunday afternoon like it was yesterday. My grandson had just scored his first soccer goal, and as he ran toward me with that beaming smile, my mind went completely blank. His name, a name I'd spoken 1,000 times, just vanished. I opened my mouth to cheer, but nothing came out. In that split-second pause, I saw confusion cloud his little face. "Grandma, are you okay?" And there I was, standing frozen on the sidelines, terrified by a simple question I couldn't answer. What was happening to me? Was this the beginning of the end for my memory? For my independence? That moment by the soccer field changed everything for me. I'm Margaret, by the way, a retired school teacher, grandmother of 5, and until recently, someone who was quietly watching her memory slip away. I never thought I'd be sharing my story like this, but if you're watching this video, chances are you've had your own terrifying moment, or you love someone who has. After that day, I couldn't shake the fear. I kept thinking about my mother's battle with Alzheimer's and how it stole her away piece by piece. The thought of my grandchildren visiting someday and me not recognizing their faces. Well, that was simply unbearable. I'd always been the family historian, the keeper of stories. What would happen to all those memories? I made a doctor's appointment the very next morning. Sitting in that sterile exam room, clutching my purse so tightly my knuckles turned white, I finally voiced my deepest fear. Is this Alzheimer's? The neurologist ran tests, lots of them. Brain scans, blood work, cognitive assessments. The waiting was excruciating, but the results weren't what I expected. Margaret, he said, you don't have Alzheimer's. But your brain is showing signs of normal aging, compounded by stress, poor sleep, and some nutritional deficiencies. I nearly collapsed with relief. But then came the sobering reality. While I didn't have Alzheimer's, my brain health was declining faster than it should be. The doctor explained that our brains naturally change as we age, but there was so much I could do to slow that process, maybe even reverse some of the decline I was experiencing. Your brain is like a muscle, he told me. It needs the right exercise, the right fuel, and proper rest to function at its best. That conversation became the first step in my journey toward a sharper memory, a journey I want to share with you today. Because what I've learned has completely transformed not just my memory, but my entire approach to aging. Let's talk about what actually happens to our brains as we age. I used to think memory loss was inevitable, just another indignity of getting older, like needing reading glasses or developing a sudden intolerance to spicy food. But here's what the research actually shows. While some cognitive changes are normal with aging, significant memory loss is not. Our processing speed might slow down a bit. We might occasionally misplace our keys or forget a name. But forgetting important information, getting lost in familiar places, or struggling to follow a conversation. Those aren't normal signs of aging. They're potential warning signs that something else is going on. What fascinated me was learning that our brains maintain something called neuroplasticity throughout our lives. That's just a fancy way of saying our brains can continue to grow, adapt, and form new connections, even in our 70s, 80s, and beyond. When I learned this, it was like someone had thrown open the curtains in a dark room. If my brain could keep changing and growing, then I had more control over my memory than I thought. The brain is remarkably resilient, but it needs the right environment to thrive. So in that environment is created by our daily choices, what we eat, how we move, how we manage stress, and how we challenge our minds. I've always loved to cook. It's been my way of showing love to my family for decades. But I never realized how profoundly food affects brain health until I started researching Alzheimer's prevention strategies. There's a saying that what's good for your heart is good for your brain, and it turns out that's absolutely true. The Mediterranean and Mind diets have shown remarkable results in preserving cognitive function. But I didn't need to completely overhaul my eating overnight. I started with simple changes. I began incorporating more colorful vegetables into every meal. The deeper and richer the color, the better for brain health. Blueberries became my daily treat instead of cookies. I switched to olive oil instead of butter for most of my cooking. And I discovered a new love for fatty fish like salmon, which is packed with omega-3 fatty acids that nourish the brain. One of the most surprising discoveries was learning about the gut-brain connection. Our digestive systems and brains are in constant communication, and a healthy gut microbiome supports a healthy brain. Fermented foods like yogurt, sauerkraut, and kefir became regular features in my meals. The changes in how I felt were gradual but unmistakable. About 6 weeks after changing my diet, I noticed I was thinking more clearly. The brain fog that had become my constant companion started to lift. And 3 months in, I was remembering details from conversations that would have slipped away from me before. Now, I'm not suggesting that food alone can prevent serious memory disorders. But what we eat provides the building blocks our brains need to function optimally. And I've found such joy in creating brain-healthy recipes that my family actually loves. No small feat with picky grandchildren. I've never been what you'd call athletic. My idea of exercise used to be walking from the parking lot to the mall entrance. But when I learned how powerfully physical activity affects brain health, I knew I had to overcome my resistance. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain, reduces inflammation, and stimulates the release of chemicals that protect brain cells and promote the growth of new neural connections. It's like fertilizer for your mind. Starting was the hardest part. I began with just 10 minutes of walking each day. No special equipment, no gym membership, just me, a comfortable pair of shoes, and a determination to keep my brain healthy. Gradually, those 10-minute walks became 20, then 30. I added in some gentle strength training with soup cans as weights. But the real breakthrough came when I joined a senior dance class at our community center. Talk about challenging your brain. Learning new dance steps requires focus, coordination, and memory. It's like a complete brain workout set to music. And the social aspect brings its own cognitive benefits. The research on exercise and brain health is compelling, but what convinced me was how I felt. After just a few weeks of regular movement, I noticed I was sleeping better, thinking more clearly, and yes, remembering more easily. Names and words that used to elude me started coming more readily. There was a moment in my garden last spring when I realized I could name every plant, every flower variety without hesitation. Something that would have been impossible a year earlier. I actually stood there among my tulips and wept with gratitude. For years, I wore my poor sleep habits like a badge of honor. "I'll sleep when I'm dead," I used to joke. 5 hours a night seemed plenty. I had too much living to do, too many projects to complete. What I didn't understand was how critically important sleep is for memory consolidation. While we sleep, our brains are busy sorting through the day's experiences, strengthening important memories, and clearing out waste products that can damage brain cells. One of those waste products is something called beta amyloid, the same protein that builds up in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease. Research shows that just one night of poor sleep can temporarily increase beta amyloid levels in the brain. Chronic sleep deprivation may allow these harmful proteins to accumulate over time. This information hit me hard. Had my "I'll sleep when I'm dead" attitude actually been accelerating my brain's aging? Changing lifetime sleep habits isn't easy, especially when aging itself often disrupts sleep patterns. But I committed to making sleep a priority. I established a consistent bedtime routine: a warm bath, a cup of chamomile tea, and 20 minutes with a good book. I made my bedroom a sleep sanctuary, cool, dark, and quiet. And I stopped looking at screens at least an hour before bed. The improvement didn't happen overnight, but within a few weeks, I was sleeping more deeply and waking more refreshed. And with better sleep came better memory. The connection was undeniable. There was one morning about 3 months into my sleep improvement project when I woke up and realized I could remember my dream in vivid detail, something that hadn't happened in years. It was such a small thing, but it felt like a miracle. My brain was working again, even while I slept. Let's talk about something many of us don't connect with: memory loss, stress. After my husband passed away 5 years ago, I took on managing our finances for the first time. The constant worry about money, combined with grief, created a level of chronic stress I hadn't experienced before. And I noticed my memory getting worse during that period, but I attributed it to aging and grief, not to the stress itself. What I've learned since then is that chronic stress actually damages the hippocampus, the part of our brain crucial for forming new memories. Stress hormones like cortisol, when constantly elevated, can literally shrink this vital brain region over time. I couldn't eliminate all the stressors in my life, but I could change how I responded to them. I started practicing mindfulness meditation, just 10 minutes each morning of sitting quietly and focusing on my breath. It felt awkward at first, and my mind constantly wandered, but gradually I got better at it. I also rediscovered an old passion: watercolor painting. There's something about the focus required, the flow of the brush on paper, that quiets my mind like nothing else. Some people call these flow activities, things that absorb you so completely that you lose track of time and worries fade away. What surprised me most was how quickly stress reduction improved my memory. Within weeks of establishing these practices, I was remembering phone numbers again without having to write them down. I could follow complex conversations without getting lost. And most precious of all, the rich details of my life, memories of my children growing up, adventures with my late husband, began returning with vivid clarity. One afternoon, while painting a landscape from a family vacation taken decades ago, I suddenly recalled the smell of pine trees, the sound of my children laughing as they splashed in the lake, even the taste of the blackberries we picked along the trail. It was as if a door had been unlocked in my mind, allowing me access to treasures I thought were lost forever. Use it or lose it applies to our brains just as much as to our muscles. For years after retirement, I kept my mind active with crossword puzzles and reading. I thought that was enough. But research shows that while these activities are beneficial, our brains need novel challenges to form new neural pathways. The neurologist explained that doing the same crossword puzzles year after year is like a pianist playing only scales. It maintains certain skills, but doesn't promote growth or new connections. What our aging brains need is the equivalent of learning new, challenging pieces of music. So I decided to learn Spanish, something I'd always wanted to do but never made time for. I downloaded an app, joined a senior language group at the library, and committed to practicing every day. It was humbling and frustrating at first. My pronunciation was terrible, and remembering vocabulary seemed impossible. But something remarkable happened after about 2 months of consistent practice. Not only was I slowly improving in Spanish, but my overall memory seemed sharper. I was remembering names better, recalling where I'd put things, and following complicated plots in the mystery novels I love. This phenomenon has a scientific explanation. Learning new, complex skills creates what researchers call cognitive reserve, extra neural connections that help our brains compensate when age-related changes occur. It's like building detours before the main road needs repairs. Beyond Spanish, I've challenged myself in other ways. I learned to use social media to stay connected with my grandchildren. I took a coding class designed for seniors at our local community college. And yes, I even tried video games, specifically ones designed to improve cognitive function. Each new challenge was difficult, sometimes embarrassing, often frustrating. But the cumulative effect on my memory has been nothing short of transformative. That feeling of mental sharpness, of being fully present in my life instead of struggling to keep up, it's worth every moment of difficulty. After my husband died, I gradually withdrew from our social circle. It wasn't a conscious decision, just the path of least resistance. Dinner parties and community events didn't seem worth the effort without him by my side. I told myself I was content with my own company, my books, and occasional visits from my children and grandchildren. What I didn't realize was how this social isolation was affecting my brain health. Humans are inherently social creatures, and meaningful connections with others provide essential cognitive stimulation. Conversations require us to listen attentively, remember details, process information quickly, and formulate responses, all excellent exercises for our aging brains. Research has consistently shown that people with strong social networks maintain better cognitive function as they age. Some studies suggest that social isolation may be as damaging to brain health as smoking or physical inactivity. This information motivated me to reconnect. I joined a book club at the library, volunteered at the local food bank, and reached out to old friends I hadn't seen in years. Each social interaction felt a bit awkward at first, like exercising a muscle that had atrophied. But gradually it became easier and more enjoyable. The cognitive benefits of renewed social connection became apparent in unexpected ways. After book club discussions, I noticed I could recall the book's details more clearly. Conversations that once left me struggling to keep up now energized me. And the simple act of remembering people's names and personal details provided regular memory exercise. There was a moment at my granddaughter's graduation party last year when I found myself engaged in conversation with a dozen different people over the course of the evening. Remembering details about their lives, sharing stories, and feeling fully present in a way I hadn't in years. My daughter noticed too. "Mom," she said afterward, "you seem like your old self again." Those words meant everything to me. Walk into any health food store, and you'll find shelves of supplements promising to boost memory and protect brain health. I know because I've spent hundreds of dollars on them over the years. Ginkgo biloba, fish oil, turmeric, you name it. But did they actually help? That's the question I needed answered. When I asked my neurologist about supplements, his response was measured. "Some have promising research behind them," he explained, "but they're not magic bullets and quality varies tremendously." He recommended I focus first on getting nutrients from whole foods, then consider targeted supplements based on my specific needs. Blood tests revealed I was deficient in vitamin B12 and vitamin D, both crucial for brain health and common deficiencies in older adults. Under medical supervision, I began supplementing these specific nutrients. The improvement in my energy and mental clarity was noticeable within weeks. But the key was addressing my actual deficiencies, not just taking brain supplements. Based on marketing claims, for omega-3 fatty acids, another brain essential nutrient, I increased my consumption of fatty fish like salmon and sardines. But on weeks when I couldn't manage to eat fish twice, I took a high-quality fish oil supplement as insurance. What I've learned is that supplements can be valuable tools when used correctly, addressing specific deficiencies or complementing a healthy diet. But they can't compensate for poor nutrition, lack of exercise, or inadequate sleep. There's no pill that can replace the fundamental lifestyle factors we've discussed. My approach now is much more targeted and evidence-based. I work with my healthcare providers to identify actual needs rather than following the latest brain health fad. And I've saved quite a bit of money by not buying every supplement that promises to boost memory. So what does all this look like in real life? How do I actually incorporate these brain-healthy practices into my days without feeling overwhelmed? That's what I'd like to share with you now, the practical reality of maintaining brain health in your 70s and beyond. My mornings begin with a glass of water and 10 minutes of meditation. This simple practice grounds me for the day and starts me off in a calm state rather than a stressed one. Breakfast typically includes berries, Greek yogurt, and nuts, a combination rich in antioxidants, healthy fats, and protein that keeps my brain fueled through the morning. 3 days a week, I attend an exercise class designed for seniors, a mix of gentle aerobics, strength training, and balance exercises. On other days, I walk for at least 30 minutes, often with a neighbor or while listening to a Spanish-language podcast. Lunch is usually a colorful salad with salmon, tuna, or chickpeas for protein. I've learned to prepare these in advance when my energy is good, making healthy choices easier on low-energy days. Afternoons often include some form of cognitive challenge, Spanish practice, a drawing class, or volunteering at the elementary school reading program. I also make sure to schedule regular social activities, coffee with friends, book club meetings, or video calls with my grandchildren. Dinner is typically Mediterranean-inspired, lots of vegetables, olive oil, and modest portions of whole grains. I've dramatically reduced my consumption of processed foods, sugar, and alcohol, all of which can impair brain function. Evenings are protected for winding down. No screens after 8 p.m. No stressful news or conversations before bed. A warm bath, some gentle stretching, and reading a physical book help signal to my brain that it's time for sleep. This routine isn't rigid, life happens, and flexibility is important. But having this framework helps me ensure I'm giving my brain what it needs most days. And I've found that when I maintain these habits consistently, my memory and thinking remain sharper, even when life gets stressful. The most important thing I've learned is that brain health isn't about any single factor. It's about the combination of all these elements working together. Like a symphony, each instrument contributes to the beautiful whole. It's been 3 years since that terrifying moment on the soccer field when I couldn't remember my grandson's name. 3 years of learning, changing habits, and rebuilding my brain health step by step. The journey hasn't always been easy, but the results have been worth every effort. Last month, that same grandson, now 8 years old, asked me to help him with a school project about family history. For 2 hours, I shared stories about his ancestors, recalling names, dates, and details with a clarity that would have been impossible 3 years ago. When we finished, he looked at me with those serious eyes of his and said, "Wow, Grandma Alina, you remember everything, Alina." He called me by name and I was fully present to hear it, to respond to it, to treasure the moment. And that's what this journey has really been about, not just avoiding cognitive decline or preventing Alzheimer's, but being fully present for the precious moments that make life worth living. If you're watching this and feeling concerned about your own memory or that of someone you love, please know that there is hope. The brain is remarkably resilient, and it's never too late to start supporting its health. Even small changes consistently applied can make a significant difference. Start where you are. Maybe that means adding a daily walk, incorporating more colorful vegetables into your meals, or calling an old friend to reconnect. Every step counts, and they add up over time to create profound changes. And please, if you're experiencing memory concerns, talk to your healthcare provider. Some causes of memory loss are reversible when caught early, and even serious conditions like Alzheimer's have better outcomes with early intervention. I'd love to hear about your own experiences with memory and brain health. Share your stories in the comments below, and let's create a community of support for each other on this journey. If you found this information helpful, please subscribe to Brain Food Central for more videos on brain-healthy recipes, memory-boosting strategies, and the latest research on preventing cognitive decline. Remember, your brain is listening to the choices you make every day. Give it what it needs to thrive, and it will serve you well for years to come. This is Alina signing off, with a memory that's sharper today than it was 3 years ago, and a heart full of gratitude for the chance to share this journey with you.